Alright guys, I've recently been introduced to the Lookism webtoon by a lot of guys in my comments asking me, to cover like the physiques of these guys in this series, because I think the whole series is kind of about like really good looking dudes basically, and they all fight each other, and it's an interesting concept, but I quite like the idea. And there are a lot of really good physiques that people have asked me to cover, so I may make dedicated videos on all of these, like maybe with programs, how I think you could develop similar physiques. But in this one, I'm going to tell you which ones I think are the best, the most aesthetic. That doesn't mean the biggest, and there are some parts of aesthetics that are individual to me. So for instance, I quite like big traps, so if someone has like quite flat traps, that's going to take away from their aesthetic appeal in my opinion. But at the same time, not overly developed traps like someone with steroids. I want these to be like natural standards. So the god of aesthetics are going to be pretty much peak natural aesthetics, maybe, slightly enhanced. So let's get started. There's not many characters here, but I put a poll out asking people who they thought had the best physiques in Lookism, and these were basically the same answers that I kept getting over and over. These like 12 or however many there are here. So let's start with Daniel Park. This is the main character. This is his like ultra instinct form, and it's a very good physique. He's got very wide clavicles, so he's blessed in this body with wide shoulders just naturally, and he's obviously got a lot of muscle here. He doesn't look particularly thick from front to back, like he's very wide, but he looks kind of flat from front to back, if you know what I mean. Whereas some of these guys, this guy here looks like he has a much thicker back. So Daniel, definitely really, really good. Not going to be perfect in my opinion. So I'm going to put him in the aesthetic king category. This next one, this guy is Gapriong Kim, who I think is Jake Kim's father. I haven't actually read the series, but I've gathered a few ideas of what's going on based on, the research that I've been doing. But this is a crazy physique. I mean, this back is insane. Probably a little bit bigger than is possible naturally, to be honest. Maybe if you had amazing genetics and you trained for like 10 years, you could get to this point. Definitely he's at least aesthetic king category, but probably like a bit too big to be realistically attainable, to be honest. This one here is Gun Park, I think his name is. Definitely a really good physique. His abs are kind of flat though, to be honest, but when you're a natural you can't really expect all your muscles to be bulging like this dude's are. I mean, this is a really, really good natural physique. I'm not going to put it quite in the top tier though. I think Daniel's is probably a bit better than this one, so I'm going to put him in good for now. I might readjust these later. This here is Jake Kim. I think this is just about naturally attainable, probably pretty much peak natural physique right here. And I like the tattoos. I think they really do add something to the look, even if it's kind of covering up the muscle definition. I think the silhouette and the proportions of his whole body are pretty much perfect, so I'm going to put him in God of Aesthetic. This is Jerry Kwon, in my opinion. Not aesthetic at all, to be honest. Just too big. He's just round like a barrel. Obviously he's insanely strong and a huge physique. Not realistic at all, obviously, because his shoulder is like twice the size of his head. I'm not going to say it's a bad physique, but I don't think it's particularly aesthetic, so I'm going to put it in okay. This is Katzma. I don't think this is naturally attainable. Obviously it's really good physique. It looks pretty much like a classic men's physique that we would see on stage today, like a C-bum type, or maybe even bigger than that into like the open category. I'm going to put him in aesthetic king because, I mean, proportionally he's really good, just not naturally realistic. Samuel, I do really like this physique. I don't think it's very realistic. It's almost too big to be real. Like his bone structure is too perfect, but it is still up there with my favorite physiques in this series. I can't decide right now which one I'm going to put him in, so for now I'll put him in aesthetic king. Just to quickly let you know, I'm running a Christmas sale on both my Todgy Physique program and testosterone bundle, so you get these two together. Usually that would cost $60 for both of these, and it's now half price, so you get both of these just for the price of like the Todgy program alone. So if that's something you're interested in, check that out if you've been thinking about buying either of those. And back to the video. This is, I think his name is Seokdu Wang, something like that. I can't pronounce Korean very well, but again, a little unrealistic in my opinion. His shoulders are just like too wide and his torso is a little bit too short. He's kind of like a simian panda build, I think. Like his chest is really low down and then he has quite a long neck, I think. So like his chest just seems very far away from his head. That's what simian panda's built like, and this guy as well. Definitely a really good physique. Not super realistic. On stage, I'm not sure how well it would do. I don't think it quite matches what the judges tend to look for in a bodybuilding competition. In like a classic physique bodybuilding competition, it would be more like Katzma's physique, I think, would do better. I feel bad putting it in good because it's obviously an amazing physique, but the aesthetics are not quite like the peak of natural aesthetics in my opinion. They're not realistic for naturals, certainly. This next guy, which is Taejin, this definitely is naturally achievable. If you have good genetics, you could get a physique like this after a few years of training. I see plenty of like West African dudes who look somewhat like this and don't even train that hard. It is pretty much perfect proportions. Maybe if he was just a little bit bigger, it would be perfect. And this is Vasco. Definitely an amazing physique. His traps aren't very big. His neck a little bit small. I think his shoulders almost look too wide, like for his head. Kind of dwarfs his head. And I think maybe his V-taper is not that good. I can't really pinpoint what it is. Maybe it's like Daniel. You kind of don't. I feel like you don't really see dudes who look like this in real life. Like their head is just so small compared to how wide the shoulders are. Personally, it's not my perfect physique. Obviously, it's amazing still. I'm going to put it in this like A tier category. This is Vasco again, but I think this is earlier on before he was quite as big. And honestly, I think this is more aesthetic. It's definitely a smaller physique. So if you have a smaller frame, this is going to be something like the peak physique for you as a natural. This is like a calisthenics physique for someone with narrower shoulders, in my opinion. I mean, you can see his shoulder width has changed, which can't happen in real life. His collarbones have gotten like longer here compared to here, which doesn't happen. But this, for a small frame, I think this is an excellent physique. He's obviously really lean. You can see all the striations. People might disagree with me, but I'm going to put that in God of Aesthetics category. This guy is blessed with slightly wider shoulders and a bit more like a bigger frame in general, more muscle mass in general. But for a smaller frame, this I think is pretty much perfect. This is Vin Chin, and he has an amazing physique. I can't fault it too much. It could be a little bit bigger, I guess. His chest looks slightly flat, but his proportions are pretty much perfect, and I think this is naturally attainable. Comparing it to the other ones, like on this level, I think I'm going to have to do some readjusting, but in terms of pure aesthetics, like which one would I most want to look like? Definitely Jake, probably number one. Samuel is just a little bit too big, I think. He's a bit freaky. These guys are slightly unrealistic. Daniel, also really excellent. If his traps were a bit bigger and he had a bit more like thickness on him from front to back, that would be a bit better. It's not easy to rank these, to be honest. I'm going to leave that how it is for now. And then this is Zach Lee, who also has an amazing physique, very shredded abs, very defiant. He has a good bulging chest and shoulders and stuff. Doesn't look super thick from front to back. And again, I'm probably going to put him here for now, and I'll do some rearranging based on let's say who I would rather look like. I might move Daniel up into God of Aesthetic, but I don't think he's on the same level as Jake in this picture, at least. I'm going to move Katzma down because I wouldn't want to look like that, to be honest. It's kind of freaky being that big and that lean. I would like to still look natural, just the peak of natural aesthetics, which I think is something like these two. Also, Taejin looks really amazing. It might just be the lighting that that makes guys like this and this look a bit flatter, like not quite as bulging muscles, not quite as powerful, I guess. Makes them look a little bit just skinnier and flatter. And maybe the tattoos here is what's making this guy look bigger in this case. So that is a consideration for making yourself look bigger. Maybe the tattoos will actually help you. And also lighting, obviously. I think I will move Vasco up a bit. I do think he does look very good in both of these scenarios. And I'm tempted to move either Taejin or Daniel up as well. Taejin, I think that is just like pretty much perfect proportions, but not quite big enough. He would do extremely well on a men's physique stage. That's the one where they wear like board shorts and they don't show their legs, but their physiques pretty much look like this. Really small waist, not the biggest guys, but just perfect proportions. I think I'll leave it like this. So my top three, or top two really, is going to be Jake, Kim and Vasco. And then Daniel here, Jake Kim's dad, Samuel, Taejin, Finjin, Zach Lee, all really excellent. Gun looks a bit flat. I mean, it's still an amazing physique. It's still a really good physique. And these three, just not realistic really. A bit disproportionate, I think, a bit grotesque. So this is my ranking. I'm sure a lot of you will disagree. Maybe you like just the big physiques best. Maybe you like the classic or the modern classic physique kind of look. I think a bit smaller than this, because I think this muscle size is not realistic for naturals, but perfectly proportioned like Jake. That is peak aesthetics for me, while still having a good amount of size on him. So let me know in the comments maybe who your like top 5 are. Maybe you would put Daniel in your top 3. I know a lot of people in the poll that I did, a lot of people had Daniel in their top 3 or Samuel in their top 3, which makes sense because obviously they're both amazing physiques. In terms of realism, Samuel I think is just a bit too big. Daniel could be realistic, but I think he needs a bit more thickness. Alright, thank you for watching. Let me know again what you think of these physiques. If you'd like me to cover any of them in detail, maybe I'll do one, you know, on my top like 5 or something. But I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.